Hello and welcome back to Anthony's Check-In. Let's just see what is going on. Hey, it's excellent connection. Well, I think I'm live. Let's get going.
Thank you. And I want to dig in the place. Your take on is the psychological crisis that's happening with our boys, because there does seem to be something going on, and I've seen it with some of our other some other interviews we've done in the past year, where there is an anger, there is a brokenness, and it has shaded into some behavior that is frankly kind of contemptible, even in the comments, frankly. And I'm curious your perspective as a psychotherapist and someone that's trying to help people with this mental health disaster. How do you understand what's going on with boys, especially Gen Z boys? Because there's some bad stuff going on.
Well, first define bad stuff.
Well, let me start with, I think, a reactionary tendency among a subset who are struggling and have become anti-woman in the extreme. It's one thing to be against the excesses of feminism. It's another thing to become, frankly, just a woman hater. The relationship collapse. Slate just had an article about situationships and the collapse of romantic relationships among young people, and it's really extreme. So the dating apps is a part of that, but I don't think it's the only thing going on. But if you aren't getting a chance to have girlfriends, if you're not getting to have the experiences of adolescence and young adulthood that give rise to being a full person, and then you are in this world that has been very woke and has been telling you that the future is female, and there's a lot of things that can trigger resentment, but how you respond to that is still your own choice. So that's when I say brokenness and bad stuff, that's what I'm talking about. People who are, instead of finding a way to have energy and have forward momentum, are turning inward and becoming and embracing a certain kind of victimhood that's self-defeating and negative, and then going into online spirals. The popularity of the worst aspects of Andrew Tate is another example of this. There will be people in the comment who are just angry that you are going to answer this question being a woman at all. How dare you? So how are you? I've set the table as best I can.
I like to think of myself, rather than being a woman, as being a therapist. How about that?
I agree.
So what I would say is, I've spoken to you on your show before about how we diminished motherhood and women, but interestingly, we've also diminished boys and men, and masculinity. And so you could say that everything's sort of out of balance. And so I think that this is all a product of it being out of balance. When we empowered women, which was the right thing to do because women were disempowered at some point in history. So we said, right, we got to empower women. So we empowered women. And then women have overshot the mark, you could say, and left men behind in many ways. 60% of students in university are men.
Or
In
women.
graduate
Okay, so they overshot the mark, but in the universities, women, they're not really taking any courses that going to advance themselves in any way. They're taking the usual liberal arts courses, and it's basically not really going to do anything for them, other than the fact that they claim them that they're educated and they got a degree. Whoopie doo da day.
schools, I mean, are women. Also in graduate schools are women. And so I think men feel left behind. They feel disenfranchised. We know that the statistics say that men will marry at their educational level or below, and women will marry at their educational level or above, which means that men are not good enough for women anymore. And there's an attitude amongst women that is, you know, in trying to become competitive with men, became adversarial with men. So we say, if our, you know, instead of thinking of men as partners, we then became adversaries with men. So, and that destroyed the team aspect of relationships. It destroyed the balance. So I'm going to use an example, which is, you know, my 5-year-old son, when he was 5, he's 25 now, we were going to a conference in Aspen, and he had to go through Denver, and Denver airport is really long. And so we said to our son, the connection's really kind of close. So you've got to run, Bryce, run. And so we all started running. I was running with the baby, and Bryce was running, my husband was running. And so we get to the gate just as the gate is closing, and we're all there except for Bryce, because Bryce kept running. And he was at the end of Denver airport. So my husband put his foot in the door and ran after Bryce and brought him back. My point is that in empowering women was a good thing, but women kept running and men got left behind. And this is not a good thing for society, that the balance of universities and graduate schools is off. If you look at nursery schools or pre-K, they balance their classroom, 50% boys and 50% girls. Why aren't we doing that?
Yeah, so women, they kept on running, but you know what? They're like like a dog chasing their tails. They're not going to be fulfilled. They're not going to be happy. They're gonna, yeah, you're gonna need more shrinks and more psychoanalysis people to treat them, and as time goes on, they're gonna get more depressed because they're not chasing their traditional roles, and they don't want to be mothers. They want to compete with men and prove that, oh, if a man could do it, I could do it just as well. Well, hey, you just go right ahead.
That. And so, you know, the diminishing of boys has left boys behind, but it's also affected their self-esteem. It's affected their feelings of, interestingly, their feelings of adequacy. And so they're in their bedrooms playing video games, not feeling they're good enough or capable of reaching out to these women. I'm going to use another example. Another son, 23-year-old son now, he went to a club recently in New York, and he said, I have a lot of good stories. He said that, Mom, all the women my age were so put together and so professional. And I'm just standing there in my, you know, my jeans and my t-shirt, and they all looked so together. And I said to him, you know, the deal is that women have always matured before men.
Yeah.
And that's not really.
No, they haven't really always matured before men. What they've done is that they're more socially matured before men because they have a lot of practice at it ever since they're being little girls. It's little daddy's princess, and so on and so on. And then as soon as they start getting into the teens, then they start noticing that they could take that admiration that they're getting from their father, and with their googly little eyes and their little puppy dog pout, and get what they want. That's where they're matured at in the social circle. Other than that, nah.
Really unusual. So a 23-year-old woman might look more put together and have better executive functioning than a 23-year-old young man. But that was expectable. Now, those young men take it as I shouldn't even try. They're not going to give me a shot. So really
Yeah, exactly. Don't, and they should not try. What they should be doing is focus on themselves, build a career, get into the gym, keep on working out, and look after themselves. And the women then they would follow. Hey, nobody told me this. I was always chasing women, and it almost broke me. But the day that I decided that, hey, I'm no longer going to be chasing women, I'm just going to take care of myself. And really, it's like, I don't have a great concern whether they come along or not. If they come along, that's great. But again, I'm into, some age. I've got some age on me. And the kind of women that I want out there, I don't really want to deal with them. They're like, equivalent to like my 66 Ford T-Bird. Although my 66 Ford T-Bird really looks good.
balance is off. We have to rebalance society. I hate to say it, but maybe the idea of quotas and rebalancing classes, and it would be a really good thing, because that anger is anger about being left behind.
All right, real quick. If you like what you're seeing and you want to see more, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell. It lets YouTube know that you want to see more Dad Saves America.
Are women.
So you think you know Wix, but do you really? First up, we've got shape video masks. You can use different shapes to
Absolutely.
And I think it might even be more extreme than that when you talk about like the early ages.
Absolutely. I mean, it's geared towards girls because girls learn differently than boys. So, I always say that it's better to separate girls and boys in the early years and then bring them back together when they're more kind of interested sexually. But, in the early years, they really learn differently. Little boys need 4 recess periods a day. They need to be able to run to get their energy out. Otherwise, they can't learn. So the best for boys would be that in boys' schools, they understand this. So in boys' schools, they have a recess period, and then they have half an hour of learning. And then they have another recess period, and they have a half an hour of learning.
You have to run them like puppies.
Yes, like puppies. Whereas with girls, you can give them 1 recess period a day, and they can sit for longer periods of time in circle time. And so we basically have geared our whole educational system towards the way girls learn. And of course, girls are going to be more successful in an environment that's the way girls learn. Now, by the way, girls would also...
Yeah, and girls don't have any pressure to perform. Because all their lives, things have been taken care of them. Things have been done for them. I was listening to saw this one video. This girl, she was in college, and her roommate asked her and says, "Susie, what's the matter with your car? You're not driving it anymore." And she's like, "Well, there's no gas in it." Well, put some gas in it. I don't know how to do that. And that's the coddling of the father. She goes, "My dad always put gas in the car for me." It's like some of these men too, like this is the whole thing. They've been coddling their daughters, taking care of them and all that stuff. That's why they may seem like they're ahead of the game, but they're not. They're really kind of like, how should I say, kind of like, for lack of a better word, useless.
also benefit from more physical exercise and more getting your energy out, right? So everyone benefits from that, but definitely boys benefit from that more.
One of the questions I have about that, and I'm curious if you've got a sense of what's changed, is the school experience hasn't changed mechanically that much in the past 50 years. But the change in the performance and outcome of boys versus girls has changed.
Yeah, no, you're wrong. The school experience have changed a lot in the last 50 years. Because I remember when we were going to school, there used to be home ec for the girls. There used to be gym, recess. There used to be shop. There'll be either like auto mechanic, auto body, welding, trade oriented classes. Okay. And today, you don't have none of those. They took those all out. So you don't have anybody like again too. There some some people are just not they're not academically inclined. They don't want to sit there and be a bookworm and study and write and all that stuff. That's not where they really grow. That's what they're inclined to do. They're other people just good with their hands, So yeah, the education system has changed, and it's given men less choices and more the women and more choices. But then they still do the same thing. What do? They want to be a shrink, or they want to be get into the arts, whatever that means, right? Okay. And a lot of times too, they still, okay. So they'll just think of it. So they'll go to school, study and all that stuff, right? Then if they do decide to get into a relationship or find a man, somebody, so they'll get married. And they'll get married, and then what happens to their career? All that stuff all the years that they spend in school and all that education that they've got, what are they going to do with it? It's basically useless. Well, you could say, yeah, they're smart, they could raise the kids and all that stuff, right? Well, you know what? Raising kids is basically a natural progression, okay? Like, we've been doing it for thousands of years. How the hell did we get to this point without these shrinks and these professor coddlers and people telling people what to do and how to do it, right? We've got this far, and all of a sudden now, we're all kind of messed up.
Somewhat relatively recently. So do you have a sense of what has triggered the shift? Because for my generation as a Gen Xer, I went all through the same stuff. It was I didn't like school when I was little, and I wanted to run around, and the girls were better than the boys at school. But then actually it would tend to flip in high school, and then the boys would perform better.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason. But that's something broke, and it's broken more recently than any changes I can understand to school. But maybe, I mean, school's gotten different in ways that matter, but it doesn't seem like the female concentration or the lack of physical activities has changed that much. But maybe I'm wrong. How do you understand that?
No, it has changed. So what happened is we went more towards cognitive-based learning at a very young age instead of play-based learning. So, preschool, which used to be called nursery school, was purely play-based. In my day, I'm 60, so we had 1 year of preschool. You were 4, and you went for 2 hours a day and you just played. And then in kindergarten, you just played. The Garden of Children, kindergarten, you just played.
Yeah.
It wasn't even that structured. And so,
Now they do worksheets, they get
yeah,
homework.
exactly.
It sucks.
And you're supposed to know how to read by the time you enter kindergarten and know your letters. And so what they're doing is they're cramming cognitive learning into these little children who some of them can accommodate, but there's always a consequence, right? And so the consequence for little boys is they're developing stress disorders because you're forcing little boys to learn in ways that they're not prepared to learn yet. And they develop these stress disorders. Like they'll develop distractibility. It's the flight part of fight or flight. They'll develop behavioral problems. That's the aggression, the fight part. And so little girls aren't as, so all the research says that little boys are more sensitive. So we say that more little boys are born in the world and more little girls survive. And that has to do with the sensitivity, both physical and emotional and neurological sensitivity of little boys.
More little boys are born and more little girls survive.
Survive.
Help me understand what that means. Because obviously, like the literally 50-50 birth rate for boys and girls.
If
So what
you
does that
look
mean?
worldwide, more boys are born in the world, but they don't survive. And the reason they don't survive is because they're much more susceptible to physical and emotional stress.
So they're literally dying.
They
more
literally
frequently.
die. Yeah, there's more infant mortality with boys than with girls. Boys are more neurologically fragile. It's why there's a higher incidence of autism in boys, right? So there's lots of research to show that
Really?
some of the rise in autism has to do with cortisol in utero. That's some of the research that's going on. But basically, boys are more susceptible to stress. And so they're more likely to develop a lot of these symptoms that we're seeing. So we've put the screws on in school in both boys and girls, but boys are more susceptible.
I encountered this on a personal level, and it changed the way I approached education for my son before I was reading about it. And that was the kindergarten thing. So I lived in Verona, New Jersey. My son went to the kindergarten at Our Lady of the Lake, and it was rigorous, and he was
Yeah.
getting homework, and he hated it. And I went to the principal. I've told this story several times. And I asked her, I said, am I missing something? Didn't it used to just be play? She said, yes. I'm like, wasn't that better? She's like, yes. I said, well, why are you doing this? This is your school. And she said, the parents demand we keep up with the standards of the public school because it was a
That's
Catholic
right.
school.
And just to bring this into perspective here, yeah, my train of thought just left me there. I'm just doing so many things here at the same time. Okay, let's get back to Jack.
And they want us to see we're reading the benchmarks of the rigor of the standardized testing. And so when we moved to Austin, we put our son in a Waldorf school, which is like the opposite. They don't even expecting you to read until third grade. So it was a much slower ramp. And he thrived in that. But I didn't know why I didn't know why it felt wrong. It just felt wrong. I could just see the discomfort. He would scream at the top of his lungs to go to kindergarten.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, it's Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. I have a question for you. If you had to make a choice between having massive
So it starts young. We know that this kind of diminishing and demeaning and criticizing of little boys starts young. So you could say that all of this sort of masculinity hating that's happening now, toxic masculinity and masculinity hating starts very young, And so you asked why young men, so to sort of bring it up to speed, why young men feel so angry at women. And I think it's because of the culture that we've created, which is instead of helping men and women to see that it's a team approach, that romantic relationships are a team approach, that it's okay to be different. We've created competition and adversarial relationships. And I think in many cases, because women have been idealized today and men have been diminished and demeaned, they resent the women. And so I think we've done this to society. I think it's imbalanced. I think we have to create balance again.
One of the things that I hadn't thought about until recently was that Gen Z came into middle school, high school against the backdrop of the Me Too
Oh, absolutely.
movement. I haven't grappled with that. Another guest had brought it up, and it was striking. It was like, wow, that was happening. And at the same time, they also have these screens that are delivering all the culture news 24/7 to them. So they're experiencing the rhetoric of the Me Too movement, which had some things that were important, but obviously went too far in other places. Well, I'm curious, how do you understand what that moment did for sex relations at this earlier age? It's one thing to be in the workplace, but I mean,
Yeah.
for our kids who are trying to get the courage to ask the girl to the prom
Yeah.
and being told, you're part of culture. And
Yeah.
like, how do you understand what's happened there?
Well, they're frightened of women. I mean, young men are frightened of women. They're frightened of the power that women have to accuse them of, So I mean, I think again to look.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Men are scared of women. Like it's to be in a relationship, it's really dangerous because anything with zero tolerance, if a woman decides that she calls the police, say for example, or you call the police and the police come and they'll ask questions and all that stuff, and whatever she says, that it goes. So your ass could be drawn, like put in jail, kicked out of your own house, and you got to pay all the bills and everything like that. And then you have to hire a lawyer, go to court, and all that stuff. Okay, so that's one thing with them. Then the other thing is even having been in a relationship with a woman, having if she decides to say, hey, you know what, one day it's okay to have sex with her, and the next day she decides, no, I don't want to, she says, no, I didn't want to have sex with you, but you had sex with me. Next thing you know, like you're up on rape charges, and so it's a really touch and go a situation for men. So you feel very uncomfortable being around them. And even out in public, like if you were to touch them the wrong way, look at them the wrong way, they could bring up charges against you. So, yeah, I wouldn't say that we're afraid. We're just more protective of ourselves. We know what the consequences may be. We're not scared. We're just more protective. We're watching out for our own asses.
Look at it in a balanced way is to say, and a more objective way is to say that at some point society idealized men and diminished women. It needed to be balanced, but in trying to balance it, we imbalanced it. It's the way, right? The pendulum swings from one side to the other. Women used to resent men because they were misogynistic, and now men resent women because they have so much power over young men, and young men are afraid. Quite frankly, the young men who come to see me are afraid of women. Either they're afraid that.
Again, I wouldn't say more like they're afraid. We're just like, we're more cautious that the amount of power that the society today and the law has put into the woman's hands have made that unbalanced. So yes, you are going to be more cautious because, again, too, like if you were to, like, for example, if you're out, a woman, a girl is like got a little bit drunk, like you fooled around a little bit, things went to let's say second base, third base. Next thing you know, it's like some people found out about it. She feels really bad about it, and then she cries grape. Now your ass is cooked.
That women are going to reject them because, as my son said, they all seem so together, and they're all looking for, someone who's as together and can make lots of money, because we've also become a very material culture. So no,
they're out fishing. They're all looking for the sugar daddy. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for somebody to like, kind of like Greek is the word I could use. So they could use monetize themselves, their sexuality against a man, and use his resources, whatever he may have. He may have like whatever he may have, his car, his money, his properties, his whatever resources he has. And the way that they're doing that is they're looking put together. They're looking sweet with their nails done, with their makeup, the hair extension, and all that stuff, right? But again, you like, if you were to sit down and have a conversation with them, it would not be a very good in-depth conversation. You really can't have a conversation, with a woman. Even with my experience, like even in business, when I'm dealing with women in business, like I'll call up a parts department, and if it's a woman that answers it, I don't really want to talk to her. She's either gonna get me the wrong information. Like just the other day, I called up Bell Canada. I had a problem. I had a phone line that was disconnected, and I wanted to get it back. And I was talking to a woman, and and she was telling me one thing, and she kept on saying, "This number is not in the queue. We don't have this number anymore." Blah blah blah. I said, "Listen, I had this number for a long period of time. I did some changes. I got another number. It was disconnected, so it was with Bell." And she's like, "No, we don't have this number here, right?" I said, "Okay, you know what? Could you transfer my call? I want to talk to somebody else, and preferably a man, right?" I did get another woman, okay, and then she was able to solve my problems, right? But yeah, that was an outlier, I guess, in this case, right? The other person, she said, "Oh," I says, "Well, how come you could help me and the other person could not help me?" "Well, she's a trainee and she's she's just new in the job and all that stuff," right? Well, that's fine. But even so too, like if she was just new in the job and she didn't have the answers for me, all she had to say was, "Listen, you know what? I'll take it off. I'll transfer you to somebody else who know a little bit more than I do," right? She never did that. Like if I would have listened to her, I would have been like with no number. So my number is gonna get connected in by Wednesday, and you'll see it. It's very nice number.
The idea that women will marry only at their level or above is also socioeconomically.
Oh yeah, for sure. You got to
yeah.
be taller. You got to be good looking.
Right.
I mean, my son has talked about this. He said the expectations even at high school age are super extreme.
Yeah,
It's
and
like you're
perfection.
What your son is talking about is modern women today. They have gone off the deep end, okay? Like their head has been swollen so much that they don't live in reality. They're living in delusional land. That's where they're living in. Because now they want every guy to be 6 feet tall. They want every guy to have a nice bank account, okay? Nice car, whatever the case may be, nice place. Take them out, spend money on, spend money on them, cater to them, and then what do they offer? What do they have to offer? Yeah, nothing. All they have to offer is their sexuality, and they go, "Oh no, you can't have none of that." "Oh no, but you want to have my money, you want to have my time, you want to have my, want to drive in my nice car that I got to pay the insurance for and everything else, right? When it breaks, I got to fix it, right? And now I want, I want some, some action, and you go, "Not today. I'm not that kind of girl." Well, you know what? I'm not that kind of guy that's going to dish out this money for you. How is that?
for this idealized thing, and the swipe apps allow you to just filter until you find somebody that looks like they meet this narrow criteria. And then the way that distributes is also crazy. Like the percentage of candidates that get swiped in the affirmative male to female is totally different.
Yeah.
And so it's like we've got a lot more men being rejected and a lot more.
Yeah, and on the apps today, it's like it's been like this for a long time. Okay, I think it's statistically they say 80% of the women have reproduced and 40% of the men have not. So the other 80% of the women are all sleeping with the same guy. And today with dating apps, okay, it's like another 80-20 rule. So like 20% of the men out there are getting 80% of the women. And that's why when you talk to them, they always want to say that, oh, yeah, men are dogs. Yeah, because you are just sleeping with dogs. So of course you're gonna think all men are dogs, okay? But you know, like somebody more in your league, okay, you're not gonna go for that guy because you think you're too good for that guy. So their head has been swollen, and it's the modern women, their expectation for relationships and dating is totally off the rockers. So the average guy out there is not going to have much luck with the modern woman in the West. Go West, young
So there's
man.
all these other things going on.
Well, remember what I said about boys being more fragile. They're more neurologically and emotionally fragile. Always were. It's just the way of biology. They always have been. And so when you take away their identity and you tell them that being boys and being masculine is bad and they're bad, and they're toxic, and then you've basically robbed them of some of their confidence, some of their identity, and then they're afraid of what women can do to them, what young women can do to them. So it's a power imbalance, really. Men and women should share power always. Relationships are meant to be partnerships, meant to be teamwork. You don't generally have two CEOs. It doesn't generally work. You have a CEO, you have a CFO, you have a head of marketing, right? In any company, you have different roles that people play. We're not the same. We have different roles we play. We're a team. And so,
Yeah, that's exactly right. You're a team. They can't be two kings. And the problem is that women today want to be kings. They want to play the role of a man. They want to be the more aggressive person. Yeah, you hear them all the time. Yeah, I'm just looking to get my bag, So today, like women, they could go out, they could work, they could be independent. And whenever women say independent, you always have to ask yourself this question: what are you independent of? And the answer to that question is that they're independent from a man. That means that they feel that they could do it all. They could live in a man's world that man build and maintain for them, but they don't need us for the pleasures that a man desires. And really, I tell you, everything that men do, we do for women for sexual access. That's all we do. That's why we do it. If we, like even like, I remember I was listening to an interview by the Beatles, John Lennon, and he said, yeah, we got into a band because we saw that, that's where the girls are. Yeah. So it's a great motivator, but today women have they've kind of flipped that on its head a lot, and now they want to be the man, and they want to kind of tell you what to do, and they want to independent of you and so on, right? So, but you know what? Again, too, a woman they have an expiration date. Okay, so this may sound really bad, but hey, it's reality. So by the time they're 35, that's the expiration date for them. Now, what I mean by that is that that's sexually expiration for them, meaning that any guy, any man, by the time a man is 30, 35, he's just kind of like, yeah, he's got his life together, he's got his money together, hopefully, he's got some investments going, he's got a house and everything like that. So now he wants to bring in a female into his nest. He's not going to bring you 35-year-old, baggage carting woman into his nest. No, he's wants to bring in something, someone more younger, okay, who's gonna be more receptive to his needs, okay, who's not gonna be fighting with him, okay, and also too who's very fertile and who's gonna give him, if he wants, like 5 kids, great, okay. Let's do it. 35-year-old woman cannot do that. Sorry to tell you. I'm not sorry to tell you. These are the facts. And don't tell me anything about Anthony, you sound so like you hate women. No, I don't hate them. I just hate the 3 or 4s.
So that idea has been exchanged for this idea of competition to be the same. So when women, interestingly, when women were empowered, they didn't become better women, more like the best women they could be. They became more like men, right?
Even in the culture, we've seen this, right? The superhero, the female superhero.
Exactly. That's what they did. They become very masculine. And as a guy, as a man, I don't want to be with another man. Masculine women is very, it's a turn off. I'm not saying that, you want to be with a weak woman. Well, what do you mean by weak? I like a feminine woman. I want to like a woman is like feminine, like sweet, what do you mean? You want to control her? I go, yeah, well, somebody has to lead, but that's a controlling. And again, too, men will do any, like I said, we do our life purpose is we live for women. And we want to procreate with them. That's what we want to do. That's our purpose. But unfortunately, they don't want to procreate with us. They want to compete with us. We're going to see how this goes down, okay? It's not going too good for them right now because there's a lot of things coming down in the pipeline that they're not going to be very happy about. Because one thing I could say about men, okay, we're very resilient, okay? We are very resilient, and we've built this society and we've maintained this society, and then we'll continue on this society independent of them, whether they like it or whether they may think we need them. But yeah, we could replace them. What are you, crazy, man? No. Yes, they're irreplaceable.
Those are like a copy and paste job.
Right.
It's like now you can beat up the giant Russian agents. And I'm not saying that's always bad. I mean, we've had great female superhero characters, but there is a kind of thoughtless, copy and paste.
Copy and paste, right. So I'm going to outdo men. I'm going to be a better man than a man. And so what that diminished again is the yin and the yang, the sort of the team approach with 2 different genders that each had important, very important roles to play in society, in the workplace, so the idea that you can be equal in intelligence and ambition, but be different too. And that's all been diminished.
I've been playing around with something that's a really simple way to think about some of this, and not probably all that unique, but it seems like we had I call it like the cultural bell curve. We had this natural order of things as tribal creatures, was that if you sort of say like along the horizontal axis is behavior and the vertical is social acceptance. There was a certain set of behaviors that were accepted, and if you weren't in the tribe and if you didn't obey the rules of the tribe, you were thrown off. It looked like a building. It was like flat at the top, or maybe graduated, like, but then steep fall off. And in response to that steep fall off and the total rejection of anything that wasn't inside of what's normal, came, I think, a well-intended desire to say, no, the ideal state is flat. All behaviors are equal, except not just acceptable, but there is no differences between any of us, between men and women, between people of different capabilities. Nope, it's this sort of blank slate vision of humanity. And then the problem with that was that, well, the blank slate, except if you're a certain unacceptable, deplorable type, and then off the side you go.
Right.
And in reality, we've got this uncomfortable thing we have to face, that is what I'm hearing you say, which is behaviors distribute in certain ways that are just natural and are different, and there is masculinity and femininity. They're not in two different worlds, but they are different. To try to flatten that doesn't produce utopia. It produces a lot of social problems. It is like one step forward, three steps back. Is that how you?
Yeah, I'll put it in plain English. Chaos. It produces chaos like we got today. These liberals have gone nuts. They've really gone off the deep end. Okay? And again, too, there are in life, there are principles and there's practices. So a principle is that male and female reproduce. That's how things, animals, throughout evolution and eons, years have done this deed. Dirty deeds done dirt cheap. Yeah. So that's how male and female. Now today, they want to say no. Women and women could live together, and men and men could live together, and they could love one another and all this stuff, and we're all equal. Whatever a woman could do, a man could do. Nutsos. Crazy talk. She talks crazy talk. Yeah. She does everything. She thinks she could do everything a man could do. No, she can't. Okay? Until it gets down to it where, like she's gonna lights go off or something like that. Who's she gonna call? An electrician. Who's gonna show up? A man. Now, there are some women who could do electrical work. Actually, they a lot of these stuff women can do, but they don't want to do it. Like electrical, plumbing, like HVAC, okay? There's a little bit heavy work, but they can manage. There's a lot of tools that they could use to leverage their, leverage their strength, okay? You just have to use your brain, how you do it, right? Just by leveraging, right? They could do it, but they don't want to do it because, one, if you, oh yeah, okay, dating a girl, what do you do? Oh yeah, like I'm a plumber. It's not very appealing. So again, too, we want women to do we want them to be mothers. We don't want them to be plumbers. Yeah, we want to plumb them, but we want them to be mothers. That's a really great role. That's a principle. Now, numero uno principle that a woman role in life, should be. She's gonna get the best days experience out of life by being a mother. And the ones that say, well, not everybody wants to be a mother, I go, no. Like I said, have you tried? Have you done it? No, you haven't done it. Well, don't knock it until you try it.
Think about it.
Yeah, so Freud said that there's masculinity and femininity in everyone, but he didn't, it's always misinterpreted that people say, well, that means everybody's bisexual, and that's not exactly what he meant. He meant that we all have masculine and feminine characteristics, just like we all have estrogen and testosterone. We all have oxytocin and, and vasopressin. There's different hormones that we have, but to varying degrees. I mean, men have.
Exactly. It's like having stress. Stress is good for you because that's what keeps you alive. Like you're like, like you may, like if you're crossing the road, like you may be a little bit stressed because there's a lot of traffic, right? Yeah, you should be, because now you got to be alert. You got to make sure that you time it properly, make sure that a car is not coming, okay? And that sort of thing, right? So like stress is good. Being masculine, having masculine energy, okay, for a woman, okay, it's somewhat is good, okay? Because if you need to, exert yourself, okay, because you want to get something done, or let's say if your child is being disobedient, you may have to raise your voice and maybe have to like do some discipline. And that's the other thing that they done in this Western society. They took away like you can't like spank your child, right? Like again too, like they call it, oh, that's really bad for them and all that stuff, right? Oh yeah, okay, yeah, but not doing it is really good for them, and that's why you have a lot of these kids today now growing up to be really soft people. Okay, they don't know how to think, they don't know how to react, and then if you do try to discipline them, they get all bent out of shape. Soft people
have much more vasopressin, what we call the protective aggressive hormone. Women have more oxytocin, the sensitive nurturing,
The bonding.
empathic nurturing hormone. Men produce oxytocin too, to a lesser degree, and when they produce it, it has a different behavior associated with it. It's more playful tactile stimulation with children, not sensitive empathic nurturing. So there are just differences, and there have always been, to a varying degree, for instance, maybe a woman would have masculine characteristics, but she'd still have more feminine ones. A man might have some feminine characteristics, but still more masculine ones. And I think what we've done is we've taken that away. And we've said that, women have to be 50% masculine or 80% masculine. Men to be accepted in society.
Like this woman is exactly right. She's so right on point with what she's saying. And women, again, too, with their quest to be independent and to have their rights and all that, right? They've really given up the best part of them. And they've made a society worse than what it is, right? I always joked about, like the first home wrecker was Eve. Like she was an independent woman. She went off on her own, did her own thing, and she didn't consult Adam, her husband, before she did a dirty deed. So, yeah. And then women needs, she needs to be guided by a man. It's must. It just works better, right? You need to have that masculine feedback there, because if Eve would have came to Adam and said, Adam, Mr. Snake over here is tempting me, right? I think Adam could have, put him in his place, or but so it is written, so it is done.
Society is metrosexual or have to be 80% feminine. And so, we're not allowing for the differences. And I think that's really, it's sad for society. It's troubling doing what I do in terms of parenting and seeing how children in this whole paradigm are the ones who are the losers. They're abandoned, because if you have two people vying for the same role of being masculine, then you have nobody who's vying for the role of being feminine. So some fathers are vying for the role of being feminine, staying home with their kids. It's possible. But for the most part, what we have is a society that's become very masculine. But women are becoming more masculine than men, and that's pissing off men.
It's an interesting way to think about it. It's like we're becoming more of the worst kind of masculine,
That's right. Right.
not a healthy
Right. So
masculinity.
the healthy part of masculinity was the protective aggressive part.
Definitely. Definitely. So there's I was watching this a video about Korea, and in Korea, the 4-2 movement or something. Anyways, they got some movement going on there where women, there are more women out there that pushing around a baby carriage, but with a dog in it. Yeah, I'm gonna see how this is gonna work out for another 50, 60 years for Korea. Okay, if they keep this up, okay, they're gonna go extinct, because none of the Korean women want to get married. They don't want to have kids. They want to have a dog. They're all up in themselves. They want to be independent. Okay, they want to look all cute, but hey, all the cuteness is gone at 35. That's the shelf life, and not really at 35. It starts to go downhill, and then when it goes downhill, it's gonna go rapido, downhill, and then what's the Korean men they're gonna do? I see a lot of videos with them with their sex dolls, right? And these robots, okay, they're gonna be having these robots as their companions, and they'll be able to have artificial baby farms where they could get grow their babies, and then have the android humanoid robot take care of them for them, and they'll live happy. Yeah, they got another thing coming. You got another thing coming, woman. Continue on.
I think I mentioned this on your last show, but for anyone who doesn't remember it, I'll mention it again. There was a study done where mother and father lay in bed together, and the baby cries. And when the baby cries, the mother wakes up because she's very vigilant to the distress of the baby. The father sleeps through the baby's cries. As soon as there's rustling of leaves outside the window, the father wakes up and the mother sleeps through it. Why? Because the father is sensitive to predatorial threat. So what was the good part of masculinity? Being protective. It was protective, aggressive nature to protect your family. A father lion on the plains of Africa is going to protect his group, right? So that was the good part of masculinity. And what we've done is we've taken that away from men. Women say, I don't need you. And, what's interesting is this election where Trump got up and said, I'm going to protect you. And all of the feminist women said, I don't need protection. What do you mean? And the truth is that, he wasn't eloquent in saying it, but there was an aspect of masculinity that was, I'm the daddy of the family. I'm going to protect my young. I'm going to protect my partner who's protecting my young. A team exercise. Whereas today, women are getting angry about that. They're resenting it. And so it leaves men identityless. It leaves them not knowing who they're supposed to be. Their hormones tell them to do one thing, but now women in society are telling them to do something else. It's both confusing and it strips men of their essential identity. By the way, it also strips women of their identity, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's it's funny because
Sounds like we're all getting Greeked. But yeah, listen, no, men, no, we'll pull through this. We'll definitely pull through it because we've got tools in the toolbox. We know how to like manipulate and get around this stuff. It's a temporary setback for us, but definitely this shall pass. So I wouldn't say that, you know, men are screwed. The next generation out there of men, you know, like, yeah, they're going through a little bit of a identity crisis. But again, too, you know what? I think that with a lot of the people on the stratosphere, the talk shows now, a lot of people don't like Andrew Tate. Okay, they think he's toxic. Well, yeah, he is. He's toxic, positively toxic. That's what we need. You know, like you need a checkup from the neck up. Okay. Myron Gaines, Fresh and Fit. Okay. There is a Andrew Wilson that I really like, and there is a few other people out there that I listen to. Rolo, yeah, okay. There's a few other people that I listen to that's up there and out there and speaking, telling it the facts like it is, okay, not sugarcoating it. You know, we got the good old Jordan Peterson, okay, you know, going out there and telling it like it is, straight up, and that's what men need. That's what all these the next generation, even the younger men out there, that's what they need. They need to hear this stuff, and they need to know, yes, you know, don't sweat it, okay, just take care of yourself, okay. Leave these thoughts, women, leave them alone. Let them exercise their stuff in their own misery. Like again, it is totally ridiculous, okay, that they're taking their sexuality, a lot of them are, okay, and they're monetizing it on OnlyFans, and they go, oh, yeah, I just do classic content. Listen, there's no such thing as a classic content on OnlyFans. Okay? Doesn't matter what you do. If you lay with pigs, you're gonna smell like shit. So if you like and doing OnlyFans, you'll be gonna consider a 304. Don't come knocking on my door. And then when your time runs out, because easy come, easy go. So you're making all these millions and millions of dollars or thousands of dollars. And what are you doing it? What are you doing with it? Blowing it. Oh, yeah, I'm going to be an investor and all that stuff. You know, speaking of that, right? So the days of strip joints, the clubs and all that stuff, right? So I used to go to them, right? Because, hey, you know, you see some nice people, you know, there. And they all had, most of them, you know, you're having conversations with them and, oh, yeah, what are you doing this here for? Yeah, you know, yeah. Oh, yeah, I was like sexually abused when I was younger. But yeah, okay, yeah. Oh, so what you're going to do now, you're going to like take it up to 90 and let the whole world sexually abuse you, right? Okay, very smart, very brilliant, okay? One, yeah, I'm just doing this because I'm putting myself through college. I want to be a dental hygienist, or I want to be a doctor, or I want to be whatever profession they are, right? Okay, question, where are all the strippers who put themselves through college and who are now doctors and hygienists? Where are they? They're nowhere to be found. And you know why they're nowhere to be found? Because they never did it. There was a bunch of liars. Okay, but you know what? The joke's on them because they gave up the best days of their life. The best days of their life. They give up the best days of their life. Okay, being in a strip bar, abusing themselves, and let other people abuse them. Okay, for what? For some money? drugs, and whatever the case may be, and clout. And today, that's what they're doing. They're giving up the best days of their life. Because remember, 35, the door starts closing for them. If they don't have it together by 35, it's done. They're cooked. If you picture a big swing door, it's closing in. The walls are closing in on them. And they're going to hit the wall. And that's where they're going to go see the doctor, get some antidepressant. They're going to be depressed. They're going to go buy a dog. They're going to get a cat. And now they're going to say, it's men's fault. It's our fault. Okay? No, it's not. It's your fault. When you had the chance to go out there and to monetize your sexuality, to get the best man out there who's going to be with you, take care of you for a long period of time. Yeah, you know what? He said, well, all men cheat and all that stuff. Right? Yeah, we do. Boo-hoo. Yeah, we do. Okay? Accept it. You don't want to accept it? Okay. Live a miserable life. And actually, not all men cheat. Only some men could cheat, right? Not all men has the luxury of cheating. No woman's coming knocking on my door and said, hey, let's go bang it up. Bang a gong. No one's doing that for me. So, hey, if you were to have me as a daddy, as a boyfriend, you're pretty safe. No one's gonna know. Unless I decide I want to go out there and pay for it, right? But I don't do that because I'm cheap. I don't pay for sex. No, not going to do that. No. Why would I pay for sex when I have my wife or my girlfriend? Okay? Doesn't make any sense. And guys who do it, okay, guys who do it, if you could afford to do it, go ahead and do it. But again, too, it doesn't end well. It's not good. I wouldn't recommend it. Okay, it's good to have the luxury of the choice. Yeah, to do it, right? But yeah, it's not very fulfilling. There's nothing fulfilling than having a woman that you love and really care for and all that stuff to take care of. And do those, masculine things for you, like change your tire, fill up a tank of gas, fix your car, or take her shopping or whatever the case may be, take her on vacations and whatever it is, right? There's nothing better than that for a man. That makes a man feel good. Makes you feel good when you could do that, when you could do something for your woman. And it's not when your woman could go out there and buy your own stuff. How good does that make you feel when you go buy your own stuff? It doesn't. It makes you feel, you think, oh, I'm independent. I could buy my own things. I could have my own car and all that stuff. Yeah, okay. We'll see how long that lasts. 35. The walls are closing in. The pearly gates, the big gates are coming down. Yes, sir. Speak some more, doctor.
Immigration is such a big issue this year. And not just in the U.S. and Western Europe, and I'm a right of center guy, but I am more pro-immigration on average probably than, even my viewers. They know
I think
that.
you and I are sort of in the same place. Yeah.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah,
right of center, but still have liberal values. Yeah.
Yeah, properly understood.
Yeah.
Human dignity, universal human dignity.
Yes.
And I think that one of the things that has sort of pushed to the macro scale is exactly what you're talking about. The destabilizing force, the sense of an actual foreign aggressor. Mm-hmm. And that the president saying, I will protect you, it's primordial, the sense in which that connected with people, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Not
protective aggressive. It was like, what happened to this? This was part of our evolutionary sort of way of being for millennium, for thousands of years. And what happened to it in just 75 years? You can't turn around evolution in 75 years. It doesn't work like that, right?
No, it doesn't work like that, but your women think so. You think you could change it all in like 75 years? You're up against a millions of years of evolution, and you brainless people think you could do it all in 75 years, and it's not working out too good for you. No, it's not. Guarantee it. You see it all the time out there. It's not going too good. Okay, let's see if he expands on this thing about immigration. I've got something to say about that too. Go on.
So
Now, how do you? Well, I have two questions. Let me start with the why. It's easy to say we as the society is very socializing, like definitionally of responsibility. Why did this happen this way? How do you understand the causal forces? Is it whacked out academics taking things to the extreme and overtaking the academia? Like,
Okay, so he's asking why. She could give her answer after, okay? But I'm going to tell you why, okay? It's because all the simps out there back in the 60s, like the Obamas, okay? That group of people out there, okay? They figured out, okay, yeah, we'll let the women out there, we'll give them rights and all that stuff, and then we'll get easy access to them, right? But it didn't work out for them either, okay? And then the whole sexual revolution thing, you know, like free sex and all that stuff, you know, the hippie movement back in the 60s and in the 70s, okay, and all that, okay, it didn't work out too good for them, right? Then we're coming into the 80s and 90s, and yep, they fought for the women's lib, okay, they and then birth control, okay, then men they got their birth control, and they went yoo-hoo, okay, we could do what we could do what men do, you know, have sex as many times as we want, okay, but it didn't work out too good for them, okay, because now they're putting hormones into the body that's changing the way they think and the way they act, and also like causing other complications. All right, so there's that. And so with the advance of the simps that let them do it, okay, the birth control and women's lib, that threesome got us to where we are today. And it's not a very good place. They're not very good. And again, the pendulum has swung really, you know, far. And hey, listen, and she mentioned Trump, you know, as saying, hey, I'll protect you and all that stuff. And that's exactly right. Mr. Trump, okay, he's a big, you know, he's a big mega sea change in this equation here, okay? And really, really thankful that he's back, okay? A lot of people don't like him, but they don't understand him, okay? Because they're a bunch of simps, they're a bunch of weak people, they're a bunch of followers, okay? All they could do is follow. They say, oh, but Anthony, you're getting your news from elsewhere. I go, no, I'm not, okay? I'm an independent thinker. I know how we got here, okay? I could see the evolution of it all. You've been in your stupid closet, okay? And you're just, oh, he's like, you know, Trump is big on bad and blah, blah, blah. Like, I got this guy, Dominic. You know, this guy is like, oh, Trump's messing up the country. You see the economy and all this stuff. I go, yeah, great, good. Oh, yeah, he's deporting everybody. Yeah, it's good. Send them all back, okay? You broke into the country, came in here illegally. Go back. Go fix your country. Oh, but you're an immigrant too. Yeah. Okay. But I came here. My dad came here, sponsored me, and I was here legally. I'm a Canadian citizen. I'm here legally. Those people, Biden, like, let them in. Nobody was saying nothing when, you know what? Nobody was saying anything when Biden was flying them into the country. Okay, letting them walk through the border. And I was talking to this one guy, right? You know, he's black. Okay, and he said, "Oh no, they're not doing that. I would have to go down there and see it for myself." Oh no, so you don't believe it when you see it on TV? Okay, you need to go see it for yourself. But this is how delusional these people are. Okay, all right, and then also too, like, I mean, the black people are the ones who are talking, oh yeah, you know, the immigrants are here for a better life and all that stuff. No, they're not here for a better life. They're here for your life and your resources. Money that's supposed to be going to you, they're taking it. You dumbass, okay? And they're living, the government, the liberal government are putting them up in 5-star hotels, 3 meals a day that they don't even want. They throw it away. Okay, they're getting food stamps. They're getting more benefits than you will ever get in your lifetime. And you're going, oh yeah, but they just came here for a better life. And the criminals that came in, okay, when an American when an American citizen gets murdered, brutally murdered, okay? You don't hear in the media saying anything about it. None of them. The bunch of scums, okay? They don't say nothing about it, okay? But this Venezuelan, you know, wife beater, okay? They deported him illegally and they should never have done that. Well, first of all, okay, he shouldn't have been in the country. He came in illegally. He was then set to he was on the books there on the docket to be deported twice, okay? So he got deported back to his country. That's his country. Rightfully so. And if he does come back, what do you want the government to do? Go there and then they break him out of jail, bring him back here to please you assholes? And actually, you all know exactly what you're doing. Okay? You know exactly what you're doing. You think that you could bog down Trump, okay, with this immigration law and all that stuff, because that's what you morons do, okay? You think you could bog him down? Well, listen, try, okay? And I hope that there is enough people out there with enough, you know, enough cojones, you know, like to pilotes to go, okay, and get this, you know, like actually, like you could Trump declare like a war on these people and send them all back. Send them all back. Because you know what? They're just sucking the resources from you and your children and your grandchildren away. And they're laughing. These people are laughing in your faces. And you're just there like you're a bunch of sucker American. Bunch of morons. Okay, anyways, continue on. Let's see what these guys have to say.
It isn't like we all woke up and had a different way of thinking about this stuff. There are players and institutions and forces that have made this happen. So why? How do you understand what's taken place?
Well, again, I benefited from the feminist movement, but I would say the feminist movement was a little bit misdirected in its telling women that they should become more like men. Because from the beginning, they should have said, men and women are equally important to society. And you have a right to have choices. If you don't want to get married and have children, you should have that choice. You should have that choice to be out in the work world or to work, or, but it undermined the differences between men and women. And that was the beginning of it, right? And so, you know, as soon as we undermine the differences, so again, women became more like men. And then men were expected to become more like women. But it seems to me that women slipped into the role of masculinity more easily than men slipped into the role of femininity. And there's a reason, I think, for it, which is that what was expected of men for millennium is that they were the aggressors. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
They also had to perform, right? You have to perform sexually. Women don't have to perform sexually. Men have to perform sexually. That involves aggression. There's an aggressive, so we call it primal scene when children walk in on their parents having sex, because
Getting
children
into some real
perceive of
Freud
it.
stuff now.
Yeah, children perceive of it as aggressive. They get scared of it because it looks like daddy's doing something terrible to mommy. And the truth is, it's an aggressive act. It's a loving aggressive act in most cases, unless it's rape. It's a loving aggressive, but it is an aggressive act. So men were always the aggressors. It was expected that men would step forward, ask women out, that men would take the initiative, that men would perform sexually. And so that was a very important part of men's identity. You take that away from men, and then you have those young men sitting in their bedroom, being afraid to be the aggressors, being afraid to take the initiation with a woman. Not only that they'll reject him, but that, you know, their masculinity being diminished, they won't be able to perform. I can't tell you how many young men are on ED medication.
I was just thinking this. It was the next question I was going
Yeah, they're on ED medication because they're being desensitized to sex. Because all the girls out there now, they are there, okay, jerking off to them on OnlyFans, on porn videos. Listen, if you're gonna, I tell you, I use like masturbation as a, masturbation is more of a maintenance apparatus, okay? You do it to keep the fluids running and keep the, you know, keep things going. Make sure that, hey, you know, things are okay. Not be sitting there and spending money and looking at these girls, wishing that you could have them and all that stuff. Okay. But yeah, I know, like when you're younger, you know, like, yeah, you have a lot of that sexual energy. You need to get rid of it, and there's no way to get rid of it. Well, you know what? There is. Okay, you could take that same energy, okay, sexual energy, and then you could turn it into something positive by, you know what, going out there, okay, and getting out of your house. Okay, getting off the fucking, getting off the video games and getting physical fit. You get yourself physical fit, looking attractive, girls are going to start paying attention to you. They're going to come to you. And then get yourself into a good profession. And here, listen, guys, okay? HVAC, electrician, carpentry, okay, plumbing. Those industries are not, well, they're not gonna go away very soon, okay. And even if they do, okay, there are 200 years of buildings that are out there that constantly needs to be repaired. Okay, you're not gonna be out of a job. And don't think about it as, well, you know, it's glamorous, whatever. Who gives a damn? The money is green. It's the same money that you're going to get from doing whatever you may want to do. And I always say this, good advice, right? This is good advice, right? First thing you do, okay? Get off the video games, get yourself a trade, okay? After you get yourself a trade, a licensed trade, you get your license in that trade, okay? Then what you could do, you could go off and try to do some, be an investor, do something else, whatever you want to do, okay? When times get tough, when times get tough, you could always fall back on that trade. You have a backup system. You're backing yourself up. You have a skilled trade that's always going to be in demand. That's how you hack life. That's how you hack the system, okay? You always have a backup, solid backup that you know that you can always fall back on, and you could do it. I'm a man of many, like I could do a lot of things. But I have one business that I do, okay? And yeah, it pays well, it's easy, you know, and I like it, right? Okay. But yeah, if I was to do, and at any time, I've always felt that, right? So you get yourself a trade, learn a trade, okay? And these trades pay big money. Like, for example, like a plumber, somebody comes over, oh, yeah, I call you up, you know, you need some plumbing stuff done. Okay, come over. It's $160 just to show up. It's like OnlyFans money. It's stripper money. It's escort money. You're like an escort. You come over, you show up, you look around, okay? And then you're out of there. You're 3 or 4, and you don't even know it. So now, if the job is severe enough, okay, and that the price just goes up and up, you know. So I think this weekend on one day in my trade job, I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, but yeah, let's do it like okay, conservatively $2,500. $2,500 in a day. Yeah. You know. Listen, it's not great, but you know what? I could feel good about it. I didn't have to really kind of do nothing stupid to get it. It's all kind of legit, right? So again, get yourself a trade, guys. Okay? Learn a trade. Even today, like another thing you could learn today too that's going to be coming on the pipeline is get into electronics. And if you want to get into automotive, get into electronics. Get into, if you could find a job at a alternator or starter company, rebuilder place, okay, that works in cars like that. That's where all the electric cars are going to go to. That business there is going to transition over into fixing electric motors on the cars. As more electric cars get on the road, okay, and they start breaking down, like the computers start breaking down, the motors start breaking down. It could be just like taking a motor up, putting another one in, right? Okay, but there's troubleshooting that goes along with it. Those industries, if you like working with your hands and all that stuff, if you like working with your, you know, with you like doing a lot of thinking stuff, you know, like you could get into the aspect, the part, you know, about, you know, like the rebuilding the boards, the computers, the systems on the car, like all that stuff it's great, it's fun. You enjoy it. It's challenging. It's really rewarding, right? And listen, if the girl doesn't like it, she can lump it. See you later. There is gonna be a woman out there that's gonna be liking it and respects you for that. Okay? And again with women too, as soon as they come off, when you're meeting them and you're talking to them and all that stuff. Okay, as soon as they becoming too masculine for you, like you put them in the only sex category covertly. That's it. Like OnlyFans, only sex, right? Well, like, what else are you gonna do? And if you don't wanna, if you don't feel like having sex with them, you don't want to do that, don't even do it. Don't even put them in a category. Just put them on the like delete list. Delete. But man, yeah, time to step up, okay? And what this doctor's talking about, like she, like again too. That's a typical shrink, right? Like, I mean, I would listen to it. She's mentioning, yeah, what we need is more mental health people in the profession. You're not solving the problem. You're managing the problem. You don't need more mental health people in your profession, okay? You need to tell these people, you need to tell these men, Okay? Get off your ass. How they going to do that? You know? With some hard talking. Tell their parents. Drag them out of bed. Lock the door. Actually, turn off the internet. Oh, then they could get internet elsewhere. Yeah. How they going to get it? Now they have to pay for it. Parents, shut down the internet. Shut it down. Parents, just do it off you have it on your phone, and that's it. In the house, oh, but their friend's gonna come over, they're gonna do it. That's their problem. That's your problem. You're too worried about, hey, what their friend's gonna think and all that stuff. No. Shut it down. Listen, that's that's a big problem. Because if your sons and your daughters, okay, a little Jody is in her bedroom and the door is locked, you don't know what she's doing in there. She could have a covert OnlyFans account. You don't know it. And if Johnny, he's in his room with his door locked, and he's there on his computer, jiggy-jagging to Betty and Sue on the OnlyFans, you don't know that. So I say, hey, first step, no internet in the house. You want internet? Go pay for it. Now, your daughter, she could afford it. But you know what? She's such an entitled little brat. She wouldn't want to spend her money to get it. Right? In the house. But eventually she will. Okay? She'll pay for it. And then when she goes out and get internet in her house, right? You know what you do? You get a jammer. You jam the signal. And for your son, so she gets internet, you get a jammer, put it in your house, jam all signals that's coming to the house from the internet. Yeah. See, I've got solutions. Not more shrinks. I've got real solutions. You jam their signal, okay? So now they got to get creative. Okay? How am I going to get myself my own internet? And you know what they're going to come up with? They're going to go, listen, I got to get out of here. We got to get out of this place. Yeah. Because now you're making life hard for them, like you're supposed to as a parent. Not coddling them. 3 meals a day, nice, warm, cozy house. Right? Oh, but I love my kids. I want them to have a better life. That's your freaking problem. Okay? You think you love your kids, but actually you hate your kids. Because if you love your kids, you'll actually make them be a better person. You don't like this idea that oh, I want my kids to have a better life than me. It's a bunch of bullshit. It's crap. Okay? You want to make your kids' life easier? Your life was hard. That's what made you go out there and work and get things done. That's part of the process of life, to go through hard knocks. Okay? And you want to take that away from your kids? You stupid idiots? No. You want them to go through the same stuff that you went through. But you know what? They'll be better off with you as guiding them through it. So they're not going to have as many pitfalls as you did. Okay? They're going to avoid those minefields of life. But you want them to get it blown up a few times, right? You know, like Ah, fall down. I get knocked down and then get back up again, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you want them to fall down and get back on their own and get up and go on and do things on their own. That's how you raise big, good, healthy kids. I don't have none of them, though. But I'm telling you, if I did, they'll be very, they'll be well-adjusted and be contributing to society. And be a net positive towards society, not a net negative towards society. Definitely so. Anyways, I'm rambling on here. Let me see what these people have to say.
I'm going to ask is I've read about this, and it is, as an older guy, it's shocking to me that you're in your 20s and you're going to struggle to get an erection.
Well, there are websites now to provide medications online. I won't name them, but it's because there's such a demand. I have a psychiatrist I refer young men to who specifically deals with the emotional aspects of ED. It's not physical. You could say,
again, listen to her. I mean, I do like her, okay? But she's referring her patient to another psychiatrist, okay? No, you tell the little jerk off to get out there and go for a run, okay? Go for a run. Build up some build up some testosterone in your fucking balls up there, okay? You'll get it up. It won't take much long. You know, do 5 miles. But at the end of that 5 miles, you'll have a hard on. The fuck? These people are jokers. Yeah. I'll fix these people quick. Okay? And you tell them, get off the internet. Leave Willie alone. Leave Willie alone. Okay? Leave fucking Willie alone. Okay? Give him a break. Give him a break. You need to get out there. You need to get out there and get into some trade job. Pick a trade. And you know, it's amazing, right? The government will pay for it too, eh? Like, I have a friend. His name is Brandon. You know, like, always complaining to me. Hell, you know what? I want to make $60,000 and, you know, I want to be up in a high position. I says, Brandon, that's not going to cut it. But you know what? Brandon he's smart. He's got good skills, good abilities. I go, listen, go be a paralegal. That's where you should go. Start with that. And after you become a paralegal, then you could specialize in something, and then you could get into it. You could become and you could become a lawyer and all that stuff, right? You know, and you know what? He did it. He went and he got the government to pay for it, right? And he's putting all his energy, not all, but most of his energy into that. So now he's on his way. He's setting himself up for success in life. When he becomes licensed paralegal out there, okay, and he has an office and he's got a team of people working for him and he's pulling in $200,000 a month, okay, and then the women out there are going to be just running to his, like, going to be knocking his doors down to get to him. That's how it works, because women, they're friggin' lazy. Because they want to meet every man at the finish line. They don't want to be there to help you train, to build you up and all that stuff. No. They just want to meet you at the finish line and go, hey, pick me. Right? Look at me. Yeah. So, doctor, I like you. But no, you're doing a bad thing by telling him to go see another friggin' shrink. You know, helping out your colleague there by making money. No, tell him to go for a run. Build some muscle. You build muscle, you're going to build testosterone. And little Willie's going to say, wake up and go, I'm back. Right? Yeah. So,
say it's organic because you know, the emotions affect one's physical performance, but it's emotional. So again, you know, men without their identity are lost. These young men are lost. They can't perform. And what we don't understand, and we're starting to understand because there's more research going on, when oxytocin levels go up, meaning when men are feminized.
listen, research. What are you guys talking about? Listen, you got to tell these people they're young, they got everything to live for. It's a great song, man. Every time I'm saying some words, music just popped through my head. I wish I had I got something to live for. Oh, yeah. They got everything to live for, and they're depressed. Why? Because they don't have anybody around them who is pushing them in the right direction. Okay? They got all the shrinks out there and all the other simps out there, and the weak parents, okay, are being, okay, it's okay, you know, no, you're just going through a hard time, whatever, right? Stupid Obama, right? Telling the kids, oh, you could stay in your parents' life insurance till you're 27. Like, what are you talking about? Why the hell you want to be in your parents' life insurance for 27 years old? You should be out there paying your own insurance. Get off your friggin' feet. Get out there and work. Work. But there are no jobs. Listen, that's stupid. I mean, there's no jobs. Hey, I got another one for you. Okay? If there's no jobs, okay, then hire yourself. Oh, but Anthony, what do you do? What do? You do whatever you want to do. Legally in it. Legally, okay? You do whatever you want to do legally. Let me put myself back over here. Okay? You do whatever you want legally. For example, right? If you're in Florida, some hot states are down there, okay? You can start up a lawn care business. One lawnmower. And if you don't have a car, that's okay. You put that sucker, it's got wheels on it, and you push it around and you go knocking on doors. Hi, how you doing? Would you like a lawn cut? I'll cut it for free. Okay, see how you like it. Okay, if you don't want to, you know, compliment, if you want to give me a tip or whatever it is, right? Go and do that, right? And then build up a little bit of money, get yourself some transportation, get yourself a vehicle. Vehicles are cheap, okay? Except for a little trailer, buy a little bit more, like an edger, a little bit more, better lawnmower and all that stuff, and then get a lawn caring business going on, okay? Then you could do like gutter cleaning, okay? You could branch out, do gutter cleaning. You could do window cleaning, okay? That's lawn care, window cleaning, gutter cleaning, okay? You could do like a handyman. That's 4 businesses right there, okay, that you can start up on your own. Don't need a lot of money. You don't need money. And that's the other thing that people say. Oh, you're going to need money to start up a business. No, you morons, you don't. What you need is an idea and a decision, and that didn't cost you nothing. All you need to do now is put the work in. Oh, but I don't have a lawnmower. You know what? Somebody does, and they'll give it to you. Go around and look for a lawnmower. Some people they throw them away all the time. You'll pick it up. This is America, okay? This is North America. The streets are paved with gold. Literally, okay? You go and you get a free lawnmower and you take it and you fix it. And you know what? When you have a lawn care company, you got to learn how to fix your equipment anyways. Great practice. Great practice. Experience. You fix your own equipment. You don't get someone to come fix it. You're going to learn how to fix it. Okay, so that's that right there, right? Okay, for the guys, listen, I'm not going to tell the women to do anything, okay? They don't need to do nothing. What they need to do, they need to learn how to cook and bake. And they learn how to be a wife. And you know what? When you find a girlfriend, you find somebody, you get her to work for you. You don't send your girlfriend or your wife out to work for somebody else. That's dumb. Read. That's really dumb. No, you don't do that. She works for you. She helps you build your business. That's how that works. Now it's a family business. And I'm telling you, man. It's like, you guys, why do you think all these other Mexicans and all these other people are coming to this country? Coming into Canada, coming to the U.S., coming to all these countries over here. Now, there's a lot of them coming to freeload. Yes, but there's a lot of them coming here because they see opportunity. They know that there's opportunity here. It's the promised land. So, there is no excuses. There's only decisions to make in life. So you got yourself a little lawn care business. You got yourself a little, like a business out there. Oh, but Anthony, not everybody. Hey, listen. Nobody says, yeah, we know not everybody could do it, but nobody says that you can't do it. You can't do it. You go out and do it. And just do it. All right? And I'm telling you, like, it's, get off your ass. Get out of your house. Get out of your house. Get out of your room. Stop playing video games and, like, you know, like, it's really annoying, right? Like, I know another guy, like, he works, and after he finished work, he's on his computer playing games 5-6 hours a day. Buddy, I know you like it, but it's not really paying your bills. It's not adding any value through your life, right? Go out there and do a side hustle. Do something else, right? And then again, too, you know, talk so he like dislikes women and all that stuff. Yeah, I get that. You know, I dislike them too, the things they do, but at the same time, I like them. Okay? So that's what, these are things that you could do to take control of your life. You take control of your life. You be the architecture of your life. And it's not hard. It's easy. Easy to do. All these people with all these degrees, this is what gets me about people with the friggin' degrees, right? They all think they know so much, but they know nothing. Right? They know they can't do nothing. They only tell you they got theories. And she's like, yeah, we got to do more research. No, you don't have to do no more research. You know, I used to read a book. I read a book a month for 5 years, right? And a lot of good books and all that stuff. Right? I've seen a lot of good stories. You know, like, and I listened to. I went to a major like seminar conference and listened to like speakers. I've heard listen to Robert Kiyosaki. and a cash flow quadrant, Rich Dad Poor Dad. I went to I went to a seminar when he spoke. He had a board game that was out. I even had the board game, never really played it. There was Les Brown. Les Brown, one of his great lines: "If you get knocked down, make sure you land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up." And that's a direct quote from him. And there's Zig Ziglar, okay, and there is another person. Doesn't come right to me right now, but economic paradigms or something. Paradigm, something to that effect, where he talked about, back in the 70s, where there was, carburetor. They were talking about the fuel crisis. Back in the 70s, when there was a fuel crisis. Oh, yeah, we're going to run out of now. Yeah, in the 70s, they were telling everybody, we're going to run out of, fossil fuels. And actually, it's not fossil fuels. I don't believe, this stuff comes from dead dinosaur. No, it's something, they know. It's called peak oil, right? It comes from somewhere else, right? But they don't want to tell you that it's a renewable natural resources oil is, right? Okay, so he was saying that the carburetor, what happened was that when they invented, they got the electronic fuel injection carburetor on the cars. It doubled the fuel consumption of of gasoline, so you get twice as much, for the gallon of gas. In turn, double the supply of energy, right? Okay, and then we still haven't run out of it yet. It's been what, 70, to 70, so that's like 30 years, and 30, and then there's 20, 30, that's 50, 55 years, and we're still pumping. Right? So these people, like the liars out there, okay? They'll tell you whatever they need to tell you to get whatever they want, okay? So I went to a lot of these seminars and listened to a lot of these people and all that stuff, right? Hey, you know what? Being successful and being rich and all that stuff takes a lot of responsibility, and it is, to do it takes a lot of responsibility. I am at the point where, I do life, at my kind of pace. I don't like a lot of, I don't want to be stressed out too much. I don't like a lot of drama and headaches and all that stuff, right? I kind of like life a little bit like that, right? I'm not really a fancy kind of person. I'm not flashy. I don't want a flashy car, big house, vacation, traveling vacation doesn't really do much for me. Vacation, I went to a few places, and it may seem nice, but nah, it's okay. You go there, you see it. It's the same crap all over the world. Same shit. Sun's up in the sky. Same sun. Same moon. Same stars. Big Dipper. Little Dipper. Okay. It's, if you're going through the ocean, salt water, blue water as far as the eye can see, going for a cruise, right? Big boat, lots of people, like whatever it is, gambling, eating food, whatever, get fat, and maybe not, right? Okay. Yeah. So, again, to like traveling and meet a lot of, women, crazy women, like nice women, whatever it is, right? So whatever. But again, I come to I really feel like, hey, but Anthony, like, you were like shallow, no, listen, I know I got enough. Maybe not. I do other things. Right? I do other things, kind of stimulate my brain, right? Like, you always got to have, there's a person by the name of Dexter Yeager. He was the one of the founding distributors of in the Amway Corporation, and I've listened to many of his stories. He wasn't a really smart guy or a university guy and all that, but he was pretty rich, had a lot of money and all that stuff. Told great great stories. I go to these lectures and seminars, listen to these people, and it's like, oh, same stuff over and over again. It just kind of bored the hell out of me, right? But again too, I took it to heart, though. I mean, I really respect these people for what they're doing, and that's kind of indirectly kind of made me, the kind of person that I am today, right? So again, getting back to this doctor here, right? Like telling people to go out there and do more research is a bunch of nonsense. Okay, no, the problem, you gotta hit it in the butt. Okay, life is basic. It's a basic, and things are simple. Okay, they're overcomplicating everything. With the children's psychology, this and psychology. We know what the problem is. And she talked about, well, Trump didn't, say things in an eloquent way. Yeah, but you don't have to say it in an eloquent way. You just say it in a way that most people understand, right? Okay, basic language, right? So, anyways, continue on with what she has to say here.
Their testosterone goes down. Why? Because the investment in mammals, because we're just mammals, the investment in mammals in nurturing diminishes the investment in mating. So when we nurture and become more feminine as men, I'm not a man, but your testosterone levels go down. So what's happening is there's less sex going on, and there's less good sex going on, and men are having a harder time performing, and they're needing to take these medications to perform.
Well, I understand. Is this part of the sort of the dad brain effect? So, when Warren Farrell has talked to me about this, and he writes about it in his book that, we as men, I experienced it when my son was born. You get rewired. And you do become more nurturing. You change what you are when you become a dad.
But the way that dads are nurturing, which is playful tactile stimulation, resilience building, encouraging exploration, separation. So what we're finding is with these single mothers by choice, women who go out to a sperm bank and, say, I can't find a man. This is like a phenomenon.
Hold it. Stop the show. They're not single women by choice. Nobody wants them. And that's the truth. That's why they're single. Nobody wants them. No masculine, man out there wants no used up, baggage ridden woman. They're not single by choice. So you could say that all you want, but again, too, they've used up all their sexual currency. They use it up in the sexual market, at the sexual casino, and now they're broke. They're out there broke now, so then they're coping. This is a coping mechanism for them. I'm single by choice. No, you're not. You're just coping. Nobody wants you. And that's the truth.
There's plenty of men around. I can't find a man to love.
It's going to come out that your dad is the happy face killer.
People are like into true crime. He is a
who's 6'5" and makes 100.
Exactly. Like, she can't find a man to love because you know what? Okay? She's unlovable. She's masculine. And then she went around and she whore herself out. And I tell you, like, women lie about they bought, like, modern women body count is off the chart. They'll say, oh, yeah, I got like 6 or 7. No, you don't. It's in the hundreds. Oh, Anthony, could you prove it? I go, well, not really, but I have a suspicion. They're having sex. How easy is it for women to have sex? Listen, if you could get something easy, right? If you could get something easy, how often would you do it? Right? I'm just asking. If it just comes to you constantly, bang, knocking on your door, it's like, How often would you do it? And you know, they enjoy it more than they enjoy men. They do, they really do. So high body counts in those people.
50K and
Right,
has
right.
a PhD because I have my master's.
Right. So I'm going to go to a sperm bank. Now they go to a sperm bank. They have a baby on their own. These babies can attach to the mothers, but there's no one to help with the separation because fathers were always the vehicle of separation. Mothers were the attachment object, love object. Fathers were the separation, love object. So without fathers around, babies sleep in their mother's beds for a very long time. They don't learn to separate in the same way. They don't have a model and learn how to be masculine from a masculine role model. They don't learn to regulate their aggression. And so this is a problem. But obviously, the biggest problem is that, you know, you have little boys out there not learning to be boys and not learning to be men.
Well, you don't find any role models in school, so you know, this is the sort of terrifying feedback loop of leaving the world in fatherlessness, right? It's like, so you have fatherlessness, it creates this
Hey, this is where they have to go on to the on through the YouTubes, the Rumble, and they got to find these figures out there who are masculine figures to give them the hard facts and the hard truth about what a screw up they are in their lives and what they should be doing, right? Because a lot of men out there, they're too soft. They're just too soft. So there are resources out there, and they got to be willing to go and find it and to do the work and change. And it's they got to do it soon. Like, let me tell you something. If you don't get it done by the time you're like 30, you're cooked. It's the egg. I mean, because when you do something consistently for 10 years, and now you become a professional at it. So now, if you're let's say you're a professional, you're like you have a low, let's say a low testosterone, and you're more feminine and all that stuff, and you do that for 10 years, you're basically you're cooked. You're a professional whiner, right? And that's where these people decide that they may want to transition over into being a woman, because now they might as well, they figure, hey, then, it's better. It's an easy life. It gets easier. It's an easy life for women. Women do life in easy mode. And if you're an alcoholic or a drug addict or a gamer and all that stuff, whatever it is, 10 years. You do for 10 years, you become a professional at it, whatever it is. That's the time frame of it, right? So by the time you're 30, like you don't get into the right program, and you don't get your life right, like fixing your mind, fixing your muscle, fixing your body, fixing your money and all that stuff. Learn how to manage money, learn how to build some assets, okay? Learn how not to be thirsty for women, okay? Once you learn these skills, okay, it's going to take you a long way. You're going to be so much better off. And you're going to be one of those men that women are going to be desire. Okay. And unfortunately for the women around your age group, and, they may not, they may be lost causes, but hey, listen, the great thing about about women, but not just women, but the human species, there's, as long as there's more people that's always being created and growing up, and eventually the pendulum is going to swing where women is going to get back into the traditional role. There's going to be a generation of women are going to say, hey, you know what, screw that. That didn't work, right? That didn't work out well for mom, right? So I'm going to do the total opposite, right? And get back into a traditional role, a more feminine role, more supportive role for the men. And yeah, and then those men out there who are very proactive in their life, being masculine, doing masculine things. And hey, and again, one thing, hey, I would say, listen, don't ever show weakness around a woman. Don't cry. Men don't cry. These things say, oh yeah, I gotta show you emotion. No, emotional men are like they're a wreck. They're all in jail. That, you know, they're in jail. They're drug addicts. They're weak. That's an emotional male. Don't be emotional. Okay, I keep all this and like inside of you. I go, no, you don't keep it inside of you. But what you do, you expel it in a different ways into different avenues, right? You jettison it into different avenues of your life that would push you forward in your life. That's how you deal with emotional energy for a man. Okay, you just let that jettison aspect of it into the direction that you want to move your life into. Okay, that's positive and growing for you. And yeah, you're gonna be very happy doing it. I'm not gonna say successful. I have a theory in success. Okay, and the theory goes like this: everybody's successful. We're all successful people. Even the bum in the street is successful, and he's a successful bum. You know, the drug addict is a successful drug addict. They've been doing it for 10 years, so they become a professional at it. So I say everybody's successful. Now, whether they're like they feel a sense of fulfillment, you know, in tune with their life, and they feel that they're getting good value out of life, you know, that's another story. That's something else to ask, right? You know, like every day, I mean, I wake up whenever I want to. You know, like so yeah, some days I may feel a little bit down, you know, and that sort of thing. And it's okay to go through that, right? Because you know what? If you walk around with a smile on your face all the time, you got a serious problem. Even if someone may think you're a psycho. Okay, let's move it on, Jack.
Balanced, psychologically fragile, broken situation that then repeats itself because now you're a worse mate. So you're getting shunted off into incel territory.
That's right. Because if you're, again, incel territory is limbo. It's purgatory. It's neither here nor there. That's really what it is. You're not a girl, but you don't feel like a boy. I mean, people that listen to this are going to get upset with that, but that is the truth. Because we're not allowing boys to be boys, not awful boys, not toxic masculinity, just protective, aggressive, taking initiative, allowing boys to be masculine and not punishing them for it. So they're feeling they can't go there, but they're not really girls. So they're stuck in their rooms in purgatory.
You have boys, and this is your work. One of the things that I found myself with my son, and he's doing pretty well. He's got a girlfriend, he's at school, it's his freshman year, so he's struggling a little bit, but that's okay. I found myself in a very weird spot as a father, and which was, he had girls he liked, who liked him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so as a father, okay, so your son's got a girlfriend and all that stuff, right? You know what? If I was in your situation, guy, I'd tell him to dump his girlfriend, get rid of her. He doesn't need her. He should focus on himself and work and build himself up. The woman will come if she's around his age. Then no, he doesn't need her. And if he has a girlfriend, he's probably having sex with her, and that's not good either. Okay, so yeah, that's my advice to you.
And I found myself saying, well, you have to make the first move. You want, you're going to be in the friend zone. And I'm saying these things that are like probably just like now they're like cringe dad sayings from a former time, the friend zone. But the response I would get from him is that you don't understand. Like, I can't just do that. I can't just make the move. And I'm asking myself, am I encouraging my son to do things that will get him in trouble? Like, make the first move? Like, well, you're having a great time and you're with a girl. You there's something where you will know. You can grab her and kiss her. like you're at the movies and you make moves. And there's this reticence that I don't know as a father how to guide in our times, how to give good advice that's going to work, that's going to be.
Yeah, I just gave you the good advice that's going to work, okay? Your advice that you give to him, okay, is that, you know what? Get rid of her, okay? There's plenty of time for that, okay? Just focus on your school, okay? Focus on that stuff. Focus on building yourself, getting yourself fit, okay? Getting a strong mind, getting your mind in order, and use that desire and let them come and let them ask you, Bob, I really want to fuck you. Well, okay. YouTube, yeah. If your son could get a girl to come and say that to him, that's success in the sexual market. You gotta let the women come to you. That's how the advice you give them. Son, let them come to you. How do I do that, Dad? You know what? You just focus on you. How is that gonna work? Trust me, it's gonna work, okay? Because women want what they can't have. When it's too easy for them, okay, then they don't respect you. Because everything in their life has been easy. Right? That's why they don't respect it. Okay? Privilege is invisible to those who have it. The quote from Myron Gaines, Fresh and Fit. I'll give him that, that credit for that. Privilege is invisible to those who have it. And women have all the privilege in the sexual market, and they don't even, it's invisible to them. Okay, so that's how you tell him, hey, son, listen, get rid of her, get rid of them. They come, knock him down. No, I'm not interested. I got things to do. I'm going out with the guys. Okay, go out with your boys. Okay, and do manly things. Okay, and work on yourself. Build yourself up. When you around 30 years old, when you got yourself your career on track, when you got your money on track, you learn how to manage money, you learn how to manage time, okay? And when you got that going, then, okay, when the women start coming to you, you could go, next. When you find one that, you know what, she's a wife, a wifey type, okay? Someone who's gonna be by your side, someone who's gonna support you, someone who's gonna look up to you, someone who's going to like value you and respect you, okay? That's the one that you want. That's when you say, okay, you know what? Let's settle down. Not settle down, but you could take her, and then you could get married and start starting a family, and you're on your way, boy. You're on your way. Other than that, no. You're confused. You don't know that? Okay. Well, hey, if you ever see this video, come across it, that's what you
Be
do.
helpful, and that isn't setting them up to be perceived as excessively aggressive. And it was really very difficult. You know, what's your advice for that? Because I gotta imagine you're encountering this even with your sons.
You have to have good radar as a boy, that you stay away from paranoid, persecuted girls. There's a lot of girls out there who are not mentally well. There's a lot of boys now who are not mentally well. I mean, that's what I run around the world talking about, how we're dealing with the mental illness crisis in adolescents, right? And children.
That's exactly my point. They're all a bunch of mental cases. Next thing you know, it's like you're with her in bed, like wake up one day and she goes, "Who are you?" And then she phones the police and like, "Oh, he raped me, man." It's like, what the hell? Or you break up with her or something like that, and she doesn't, she's not too happy with, well, she sets you up, and the next thing you know, chaos. Hey. Yeah.
Children. But you have to have a good sense. And where do you learn that sense? By having healthy parents who love each other, who have a deeply connected relationship with you, and who you model after. That's really where you learn it. So our kids aren't learning it, right? But the idea is that you have to have a good radar for when girls are not well, when they might be paranoid, persecuted, versus a girl who's balanced and healthy and is not afraid.
And let me help you out here. Listen, okay? You're not going to be able to figure this out when you're younger. One is because you're too thirsty, and you're like your adrenaline, like the attention you get from them. Because remember, girls been getting attention all their lives, right? Okay, so as soon as like you start to get a little bit of attention, okay, like you can't be giving girls attention, okay? The rule of thumb is that the girl's gotta like you more than you like her. So if you like her more, red flag. No, don't, okay? What you need to do is you need to stay away from Jane and Jody and Susie and Betty and Alexa. Stay away from these girls, okay? You could have, "Hi, how you doing? That's it, boom, nice, yeah, it's okay, all right, yeah, no, it's I'm good. And they say, "What's wrong with Jack?" Yeah, nothing's wrong. You should say, "What's right with Jack?" What's right with Jack is that he's staying away from you. That's right, okay? He's working on himself. And then when after he gets secure and all that stuff, then he could go out there and then he could start at the same time. What you do is that you're going to look at the patterns, right? Before you have any interactions with these girls, you just kind of scope them out. You have your patterns. You'll see the patterns, right? You scope them out. You say, "Oh, you know what? Like you watch the way they dress, watch the way they talk, okay, and watch if they're drinking, if they're smoking dope, and all that stuff." So signs to look out for 3 or 4s, right? Is that if they're really kind of like boy crazy. Okay, they're going from one guy to the next guy. Nah, okay, you don't want her. The other one, if they're doing any kind of drugs, okay, whatever drugs that may be, like maybe a social drink is fine, right? If a girl's, that there, if they're smoking and vaping and all that stuff, cigarettes and all that stuff, nah, I don't need that. Like, what are you doing? Working, killing your body or something like that, right? If they're wearing like a ton of makeup, a lot of makeup, get rid of that, okay? If they got tattoos, okay, they got tattoos on them, Yeah, get rid of that too, okay? You don't want no tattoo girls, okay? Then the nails, okay? Girls with like long nails, okay? Don't get rid of that. Girls with like the cosmetic surgery. If any girl that you see, young girl that's got cosmetic surgery, like bubble lips, you know, that sort of thing, you know, nose rings, piercing, all that stuff. Nah, get rid of those too. But Anthony, what the fuck? It's like there's no more left. Exactly. You're all trash. You gotta wait for the new round of generation to kick in, right? The new generation, next one, generation's coming that's gonna be clean cut. Okay? All these ones, they're trash. They cooked. Done like dinner. You don't need them. Garbage. Throw them away. For Anthony, you're so brutal. No, you're like, I can't talk to people about people like that. I go, yes, I can. Because they are like they're perfect. Beautiful. I see them. Perfect. Beautiful. Nice nose, nice face, nice skin. Nice body, nice hair. What are they? They mess it up. Tattoos all over the place. Piercing all over the place. You know, like, they're a wreck. All different color hair. They got beautiful hair. Diet this. They got beautiful lips. They're blowing it up, lip fillers. You know, like, I would say the gluteus. Maybe something like that big or whatever it is. Listen, don't worry about that, you know. Just work hard in the gym, build that baby up. For them, but no, they got like BBLs and all that stuff. A lot of these women are very shallow. And they're just looking, they're high maintenance, they're high maintenance, okay? They're they're just consuming. And once they're a consumer, they're going to consume you. They're going to consume your resources. They're going to take you to the poorhouse. That's why you do not want to have anything to do with them. They're going to drain your resources. Okay, well, let's go out for dinner. Okay. Or, you know, I got to get my nails done. Or this, or pick me up and drop me off there. You know, I got to buy this, got to buy that. No. Not spending no money on you. Okay? You're only going to spend money on the one. The one who is going to be the mother of your children. Save all your money for that. Save all your money for that one. And once you become the man, she'll show up. Because you, as yourself as a guy too, like, listen, guys, okay? No tattoos, no piercing, right? Everything you do is like, do it naturally. No steroids and all that stuff, right? You know, no fucking, like, no pink hair, okay? And all this crap, all right? None of this stuff. Keep your body clean. It's perfect the way it is. And if somebody can't appreciate that, you don't want them. They don't know beauty. They don't, they say, oh, listen, I'm artistic. Yeah, you can't appreciate art. I'm the art of art, all art. Art, thou being me. Okay? Yeah. So that's like you now when you are like that, right? When you're clean, when you got your money, your mind, your muscle in order, okay? Then a woman is going to see that's going to filter out all the other bimbos. The ones with like Jack doesn't have a tattoo. He it doesn't turn me on. Great. It's not supposed to. I'm not supposed. Yeah, I'm glad I don't. Thank you. Okay. No piercing. Jack doesn't have no piercing. No, exactly. Yeah. You weed them out. Okay. You weed them up by your actions. All right. Then the one is going to come along and he goes, you know what? There's Jack. He's like looking good, clean, no piercing, no tattoo, doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, right? You know, he's like well dressed, right? Well groomed. Yeah. I want to get to know him. Hi, Jack. How you doing? Right? Hi, Susie. Hey. Nice to meet you, right? Yeah. And that's how it goes. That's how it starts. Something like that. But you have to be like, you know, field of dreams. Build it and they would come. So you're building a man. That's what you're doing. You're building a man. And that's how you build a man. And they would come. They'll come in droves. So you got to be careful, right? You got to have to choose your pickings. Oh, Anthony, how many girls do I have? Well, you know what? I got a couple. They're in foreign land, right? You know, where I'm safe from them, right? Okay, right? But, hey, build it and they would come. And they will literally come.
Of both her masculine and feminine parts, but is not afraid of her feminine parts.
We had one person significantly change their telomere length within 4 days. And that is a quantum phenomenon. People are having instantaneous change in their health during a meditation. And when they change their energy, they change their life. After doing meditation twice a day, take a look at that change. All that green represents they changed their brain by thought alone. You have the ability to change your gene expression. We're not hardwired to be a certain way for the rest of our lives, and we're not doomed by our genes. In fact, we are marvels of change. I'm going to show you how to rewire your brain and show you the latest data that supports my work.
I'm going to say that.
Yeah, man, I got to apologize to you people. My YouTube premium ran out and I didn't renew it. Credit card got expired. I got to take care of that. This is quite annoying. Nevertheless, good content.
You have to, if you want to teach your son something, it's choose emotionally healthy girls.
So if I am watching this and I don't have good role models, but I know that I want to improve myself. And I found this show and I'm like, I'm going to listen to this and let me see if I can get how do I start to help myself develop that skill when it hasn't been modeled by my parents and I don't have good role models out there on the screens?
So our society is so extreme in the conversation. So to tell your son or for yourself to listen to this and say, I'm going to make the first move. Now, making the first move might be asking a woman out to dinner or kissing her, which is not.
Listen. Again, women today, they don't appreciate the stuff that men do, like before, asking her out to dinner and all that stuff. You never take a woman out to dinner. Because you know what? How much is that going to cost you? It's going to cost you, let's say, $100, $200, $300. Oh, they want to go to the really nice places and expensive, right? And then after that, what are you going to get for that? Nothing. You're not going to get a BJ. You're not going to get access to the G zone. She's getting, I'm not that kind of girl. Well, I'm not that kind of guy to go out and spend all this money on you either. Right? No. stay away, Jose. Stay away from these people. Okay? Just, I know it's kind of hard. Yeah, I know. Yeah, your dick's gonna get hard. It's hard. It's difficult to do, but you have to look at the bigger picture. It's only gonna be 10 years, okay? And it'll go by real fast. 10 years of focusing. It's like look at it like the Olympics, okay? You're training to get to the Olympics, and the gold medal that you're gonna get is that wife. That's the gold medal that you're gonna get, okay? And actually, you could put a picture, guy. You could put a picture of her in your room. Get whatever girl that you think that you really want, and you could change her up every 6 months or every year or 5 years as your taste may have evolved, right, or change, right? But get a picture, say hey, and put her a name on it, wife. Put it up in your room. Yeah, you could shag that too, right? To keep to keep little Willie active, right? Okay, you got to maintain that part of the anatomy, right? And keep it going, right? So that's part of it, right? 10 years. So 10 years you focus on you. You focus on your, if you education, if you want to become, like a professional or somebody like an architecture, a doctor, whatever field that you want to get into. Okay, you focus on that only, right? You focus on that, and you get yourself around a bunch of other like-minded males like you. None of the other losers. Okay, you find other guys like you who are looking to do the same thing. All right, run this marathon, run this to get to this gold medal gold medal wife, right? And then when you get there. That's how you get by it. That's how you do it. You have to psych yourself out. Like, how do you think a person does it? Do you know how much sacrifices these people make to be an Olympian? Actually, go to one of these people. I would suggest find yourself a person who's an Olympian and get them to kind of like talk to them and listen to what they say. Hey, dedication to your goals, to yourself. And at 30, because it's for a guy to be 30, 35, 40, that's when you should be getting married. For a girl, for her to get married, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, okay? That's kind of, when it gets into 30, you're pushing it, girl. You're pushing it. The early years are better. Now the girl, you may say, oh well, the girl, like she's gonna say, yeah, well, I don't have that much experience out there, and I'm missing out. I go, listen, baby, you didn't miss a thing, okay? Because all you're gonna get is heartache and headache, and a lot of willies, right? And that's never gonna be good for you. The less you have of that stuff, the better off you're gonna be, and the better off you're gonna feel about yourself. You may not think that, but a woman is not the same as a man. The sexual act for a man and a woman is totally different. So that's why, for her, the less she has, the better it is. The more you have, the better it is for you. And the reason is you need the experience. Like, no girl is gonna be with a guy that has no experience, right? Okay, and also too, you want to be able to have the ability to pull women. Because if you're able to pull women, the one that you have, they'll stay in line. They'll know that, hey, you know what? Jack could pull, Susie, or Sam, or Wendy, or Jennifer. I see him all the time. I'm seeing, like, listen, I gotta mind my P's and Q's. to keep him. She has to work to keep you. And that's how your relationship is going to always be strong and always going to work out for your benefit. Because she has to be able to feel that you could go, and she always have to be walking in and make you feel a little insecure about her relationship with you. You never feel secure that knowing that, and it's kind of like reverse psychology, and that would make the relationship secure with that, right? Moving on down.
And is not forcing yourself on her. So, we don't understand nuance anymore. There's no nuance. And I think that's part of it, is that, a girl can say, oh, he raped me when he tried to kiss her and hug her. And it's possible. But that has to be a very unhealthy girl. So again, I go back to the idea, you have to be able to determine who is healthy and who isn't healthy. And you do that by not partaking of the hookup culture. So one thing that's happened to society, to Gen Zs, and also everyone that's followed, is the hookup culture. And now it's not to say in the 80s, we didn't have some form of the hookup culture, right? I mean, it's not that people weren't sleeping around. It was the AIDS crisis. Yep. It was heterosexual. It was gay. It was everything, right? But it's gotten much worse because there's no relationship at all. So, in the 80s, it was a bad thing.
There's situationships now where there's sex, but there isn't, like, we're actually in a relationship. It's like, well, there's some.
Tinder's headline, is meet the love of your night. So,
Great.
Yeah. So basically it's a culture that diminishes, again, relationships. So the way you don't get accused of rape by a woman is you get to know the woman. You make sure the woman is healthy. You go out to dinner with her. You befriend her. You make sure she's mentally healthy before you make advances, right? And so maybe you have to do that even more now than ever before. But that's not the culture. The culture is just hookups. And it's interesting because they call dating, what we used to call dating, was just going out to dinner with someone and getting to know them and see if you wanted to kiss them, right? That's not what the young people do. They find each other on Tinder, they go out and they sleep together. And there's no relationship building. And so it encourages mistakes. It encourages accidental experiences that are really negative. You have to know somebody to determine whether they're healthy enough to sleep with or whether you like them enough to sleep with them. So the hookup culture is an extension of this disconnection in society. And the kids are suffering from it because they're more likely to make mistakes and be accused of things if they don't know the person they're sleeping with.
We've been lied to. This is the worst I've ever seen it. This is a place where people are so angry, so frustrated, so fearful because the game has changed. We got this inflation that's massive. We got people afraid AI is going to take away their job. And also the story we were told, that's the lie that makes me so mad. You're supposed to work hard, go to school, get a degree, go to work for a big company, and then work really hard. You'll move up.
One of the things that seems like it's harder is, so you're saying something that makes some assumptions, which is healthy. So what does that mean? Like, paint a picture. I know there's not one, there's billions, but what are some markers of a healthy psychology, of a healthy personality or maybe it might be easier to say, what are some warning signs that it's not healthy? But give me and the viewer some tangible, like, traits or behaviors or things that I should be looking for and not ignoring.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes we see these things and we kind of know it's wrong, but we ignore it because we like them. And then it turns out, like, wow, I should have listened to my gut. but our guts have gotten a little out of whack. So help me out. Help.
So adolescents' prefrontal cortex is not developed till they're 25. That's the part of their brain that we call the emotional regulation part of their brain. So all adolescents are a little wacky in terms of their judgment and their executive functioning and all kinds of things. Their impulsivity, this is part of being an adolescent and a young adult. But healthy, basically, if I were to be reductionistic, it means being emotionally balanced, being able to regulate your emotions. So, if you are a boy and you take a girl out and you make the advance and you kiss her, and then she flips out and she gets enraged at you and she screams at you and she says, who are you to kiss me? And you just harassed me, right. Houston, we have a problem because this is someone who is not emotionally regulated, right? Maybe an emotionally regulated girl would say, I don't really want that. I'm not attracted to you in that way. I'd prefer just to be friends, right? So you can see someone that goes from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. They either have a borderline personality, they have a narcissistic personality, maybe they're highly anxious, but, emotional balance, that's what I would say, the ability to regulate one's emotions.
That turn on a dime behavior is a really good indicator. That's a great shorthand because it does. You can think about the people in your life who are quick to whatever, quick to anger, quick to cry.
The turn on a dime behavior. Listen, you don't even have to get that action with that person to know that. You could tell by just talking to them and looking at them and just spending a few minutes with them that this is a psycho. Okay, these people are not they're not very stable. Okay, anybody that's putting piercing in their body, it's not stable. Oh, you could, Anthony. Well, no, you can't say that. I go, yeah, I'm saying it. And anyone who's putting like needles and you know how much pain you have to go through to do a tattoo. You know, it's pain. You gotta sit there and like like millions of needles are constantly like pricking you. Okay, and then on top of that, you put in a foreign substance, ink, into your body, and that ink is gonna it's a carcinogen to your blood, to your body, gets into your bloodstream, and who knows what else it does to your brain, to yourself, right? So that part of it there too, and then the drugs that you're taking, that if they're smoking dope and all that stuff, and smoking dope, like it's not good. That stuff like burns your brains out. Okay, like it puts you to sleep. Like your business become really stupid. So that's, and then also through the makeup. The makeup there's a lot of chemicals in that makeup, that gets into your blood system, right? So there's the makeup, the lipstick, that full of carcinage, lipstick, lip gloss. They constantly put in that baking. Listen, there's nothing more like luscious than a nice lips. If you see it natural, really nice, right? And then the other one is nail polish. Nail polish puts carcinage into the bloodstream from the nail. And all that stuff is not good. So you want someone that's relatively like clean. And anybody with all this stuff, any girl with all this stuff, is definitely like you're gonna have some problems, with them, right? So you could use that as a guide from the external point. So you don't even have to go in and try to have a relationship with this person, or even say trying to make out with him and all that stuff. No, you don't want to kiss that anyways, right? Hey, always, this is as I think about kissing girls. I always thinks about how many times has she had a relationship with a guy. When you think when you think, then you go, no, I don't want to kiss you. Right? No, no, thanks. Oh, but she cleaned herself. No, it's okay. Thank you very much. I'm not gonna get down and participate with that. No. How do you know? Like, no. Well, what about you? How many times have you went down on a girl? I don't do that. You don't do that stuff. No, don't do that. That's not. It's not like it's nasty, but it's not healthy for you, and it's emotionally weak for a guy to do that to a girl. Right. Anyways, moving on.
Quick to impulsivity. So also look for impulsivity. So, young people are attracted to impulsivity, but the problem is that impulsivity is often a sign, particularly extreme impulsivity is a sign that someone is imbalanced.
I switched from due dates to due dates, and it made me go from weeks behind to weeks ahead of my deadlines. You see, I used to just bed rot all.
This concept of our cortex formation and development going till 25.
And boys, it's longer.
Well, here's my
Girls, it's 25. I think boys, it's more like 27 or 28.
That's interesting.
Boys develop later. Yeah.
Here's what I don't understand. I remember there was an NPR story about, this is going away a little ways back, about the average age on an aircraft carrier that was 19 years old. Human beings, Homo sapiens, have been on this planet for hundreds of thousands of years, roughly in our current biological form. And the notion that we weren't really adults until 25, I don't think that was around in like 1400. I think you were 14 and you were having to do a lot of tough stuff. You had to figure it out. You don't have to go back that far to look at a 16-year-old or the 18-year-olds going off to fight in Normandy.
Can I interrupt you for just a second?
Please.
The reason they took advantage of those young people is because they are impulsive, because they weren't grown up. You got an 18-year-old and you said, I'm going to give you a gun and you're going to go fight the bad guy. And they're like, yeah. You give that to a 27-year-old. They're like, I don't want to go to war. I'm going to Canada.
You're right.
So
that's true.
It was taking advantage of, there's also, in an evolutionary way, there's a reason why there are certain characteristics associated with adolescence that were beneficial to society. They were the greatest warriors. They were the most fearless. They were the most, because you become more fearful and more cautious, and you develop things like judgment, which makes you less courageous, less fearless, more fearful, all of those things. So, who would sit by the campfire and protect the camp in the middle of the night? It would be the 15 to 25-year-olds. Who are there with their spears going, yeah, I got this.
I hope someone attacks.
Yeah. So, it had a use.
Okay, that's helpful.
And so sending those young guys to war was not unintentional, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
disposable. We were disposable. We're excited.
Right.
We're ready to climb the wall. We're ready to go through the trench.
But you could also say that, this whole controversy about men and combat and whatever, I would say that masculinity had a very positive use, which is it was very good for hunting. It was very good for protection. It has a lot of good uses. And
building
we've
all
thrown
of the things.
the baby we've thrown the baby out with the bathwater. I hate to use that expression because of the work that I do, but we have thrown the baby out with the bathwater in throwing masculinity out, which serves such an important function in society, and trying to replace it with femininity, right? Because it has a very positive use in society.
So I come to you and I want to fix myself, get regulated, get into a place where I have the self-confidence to make the move, to take risks, having grown up without a dad and with a lot of smothering and a lot of...
All right. Rule number 1. Not number one rule, but here's a rule. And Einstein said this. This guy said he can fix himself, right? So this is what Einstein said. The significant problems that you face in your life cannot be solved at the same level of thinking you're at when you created these problems. Meaning that you can't solve your own problems. And if you try to solve them, you're going to make them worse. So do not try to solve your own problems. Like, for example, if you have a car that's broken down and you go and try to fix it, you're not going to be able to fix it. You made the problem. You're going to make it worse. Whatever you have, you make a mess of doing something, okay? Don't get a professional in there to try to fix it for you. So again, in life too, okay? How do you solve these problems of life? Well, you could get a life coach, right? And there's many people out there, like I said, Jordan Peterson. He's very he's very good in setting people up. And here's a few things that like actually a lot of stuff I've been telling you all this time are very have been very helpful, right? Okay, so the part about everything that I've said, and I can say more. And what you need to do is stick to the basic stuff. Don't get too overwhelmed with yourself. Okay? Don't try to do it all at once. Like I said, give it a 10-year period, right? You break it down into like quarterly, or monthly, quarterly, monthly, and that sort of thing, right? Set your goals, and then you'll be all right. You'll be all right. But again, to know that there's a lot of out external forces out there that's always going to try to distract you and break your attention, right? So number one rule is, hey, don't try to fix yourself. You're not gonna be successful at it.
A lot of helicoptering or just neglect. Is there a protocol, or you talked about going back to the past, but for the individual, are there things that are the sort of sequencing to help rebuild those skills when they haven't been developed?
Things have gotten pretty expensive lately, and I need to generate some additional income.
I stumbled upon data annotation.
I mean, you're talking to a therapist, so of course I'm going to say therapy is the way. I think for men, individual therapy is really important. If we're talking about for men, let's talk about for grown men. I also think groups really are good for men. I don't like groups for everyone. I don't think everybody should be in a group, but I've seen groups work very well for men because, together they can break down the barriers of being able to be vulnerable with one another and share an experience and not feel judged. And so, men's group. Groups are really, I think, important for men. But individual therapy, I also think with children and adolescent boys, there aren't enough male child therapists. This is actually a real problem. There aren't enough therapists in general in this country. There are 30 people in need of therapy to one therapist. That's the ratio right now. There's only one therapist available to every 30 people who wants therapy. So that statistic is pretty ridiculous, but there are not enough male child and adolescent therapists, and we need them dramatically. I mean, I mentor as many young men to go into my field as possible, because little boys who don't have male role models, even if their fathers are working really hard or not really great role models, maybe they're in the family, but so they're physically there, but not emotionally there, right? So little boys need men, and then adolescent boys need men. They need male therapists, not female therapists. And so it's really tough to find, if anyone who's listening to this, if you want to go into the mental health field, male child play therapists for little boys, and adolescent therapists who are male therapists is really, we don't have enough of them.
So now there is this, you are pointing to a thing that can be read in two different ways. The rise of mental health disorders in this country and the rise of therapy. One, these can go into different currents, and you'll pick up where I'm going pretty quickly, obviously. One is rising need, service providers come in. It's possible that there's a causal factor. Too much talking about our feelings, too much focusing on the negative, bad reinforcing feedback loop. This is, I think, the thesis of Abigail Schreier's book, Bad Therapy, that
I know
that you people are to blame for this.
No, actually, I'm going to correct that and say, I mean, I've heard her speak a little bit. I don't agree with everything she says, but there are a lot of bad therapists.
Well,
So
and
I don't want to say all therapy is good therapy. You'd say all doctors aren't good, all lawyers aren't good, all podcasters aren't good.
Yep. Something that I turned off my audio there for a second. So as I was saying, that I'm gonna cut this short. I've been at it for a couple hours now, and I think that I ranted a little bit. I could have a lot more to say. This could go on for another 3 hours, and my rants take a little about. Some of them could get into about 2-3 minutes. Have a lot to say, but overall, I like this woman, but the approach that they're just putting a Band-Aid on the problem. They're not really addressing the problem directly, and this is going to perpetuate the whole problem, make it worse. So, like I said, most people, you have a 10-year window, 10-15-year window to get things right, because after that you create habits, and those habits then in turn becomes lifetime habits, and they're hard to break. That's why you have other people, addiction. I have one guy right now that I know he's an alcoholic, loves his liquor, but he lost his wife and his kids because of the liquor. They left him, but he doesn't see it. And they're never going to see it. They're cooked. They're done. When you give up your wife and kids, and you know that the liquor has done it, and what they do, they blame it on everybody else. Yeah, it's everybody else's problem. No, it's not, jackass. It's you. It's your problem. Okay, quit the fucking. Quit the drinking. Life is tough, and how do we know it? Well, you're breathing. Okay, or else the other alternative will be, you won't be breathing, and you'll be in the ground, and all your problems will be solved. So you won't have no more problems. So, anyways, this is Anthony checking out. It's been interesting evening here. I hope that you have enjoyed my rants, and I hope you enjoyed this podcast here with this person. Don't know exactly how to say how Anthony is so unprofessional. I don't give a damn. Okay, it's all part of the fun of this thing. So we'll be signing off right now. Please like, subscribe to the channel, and when you have a chance, hey, some donations would be good. And I'll pick up the rest of this video at another time if I feel so inclined to do so. All right, so it's Anthony checking out, and take care.